Monday, October 6th at 7:30 PM. First item on the agenda is to call the meeting to order. Next item on the agenda is the invocation. I would ask that we all stand, and Alderman Holman, would you give us the invocation?
Please bow with me. As we pray this evening, we ask that you bless this meeting and all those in attendance. We ask for your guidance as we conduct the business of this community. Please be with each one of these elected officials as they weigh out the decisions to be made this evening and in the weeks to follow. We ask that a blessing be bestowed upon the many people who tirelessly volunteer their time to serve this community. As we remember those tonight serving in the defense and liberty of this country, both here and abroad, we ask that a hedge of protection is bestowed upon them and their families. We also ask that you would return them safely to the communities from which they come. We thank you for the abundance of citizens willing to go above and beyond to care for each other, making Batavia such a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Amen.
Thank you. Alderman O'Brien, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is roll call.
Brown?
Here.
Clark? Here. Atack?
Here.
Starr?
Here.
Jansit?
Here.
Alderman Wolf is absent. O'Brien?
Here.
Callahan?
Here.
Holman?
Here.
Sam?
Here.
Vasilian?
Here.
Saron?
Here.
McFadden?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. What do we have? We have 12 out of 13? Okay, moving on then to the consent agenda. And for the public information, as Mayor Pro Tem tonight, I will be voting as an alderman, not as a mayor. So consent agenda, Alderman Stark, would you read that off for us, please?
Well, the consent agenda reads as follows: that we accept and place on file, A, the Joint Committee of the Whole minutes for August 26, 2014, and September 9th, 2014. B, the August 2014 financials. C, Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals minutes for September 17th, 2014. D, Historic Preservation Commission minutes for September 8th, 2014. The following approvals: E, September 26, 2014 payroll in the amount of $718,985.18. F, the accounts payable check register in the amount of $5,286,890.24. The City Council minutes for September 2nd, 2014. Ordinance 1442, an ordinance establishing a special service area number 58, Tanglewood Hill subdivision, units 1 through 5, Drew Raycow 91714, came out of the J-Cow on 923 with a vote of 11-0. We're skipping item I. We're taking that off the consent agenda. Item J, ordinance 1452, amending the official zoning map of the City of Batavia, Harrison Street, which also came out of the J-Cow on 923. K, ordinance 1453, amending the official zoning map of the City of Batavia, North and South River parcels, which came out of the J-Cow on 923. Resolution 14119R, approving agreement with Baker Tilly Virchow Kraus LLP for an electric rate study for the not-to-exceed amount of $30,000, which came out of the J-Cow on 923. Resolution 14-130R, approving agreement with Water Well Solutions for well number 11 repairs for an amount not to exceed $78,389, which came out of the J-Cow on 923. Resolution 14-132R, declaring certain personal property to be surplus and authorizing the sale thereof. B, Batavia Police Department, which came out of the Cow on 930. Resolution 14-134R, declaring certain personal property to be surplus and authorizing sale thereof for one 2000 Vermeer BC 1800A chipper, which came out of the Cow on 930. And I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Motion by Stark, second by Vasilian. I would like to make note, Susan, I kind of rushed you through that, as you read it, that was amended to reflect the changes that we had discussed earlier, which were to change item number G from September 15th to September 2nd, remove item number I, and take the executive session off of the agenda. So if nobody has an issue with that, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
And before we commence the roll call, welcome Alderman Wolf to the meeting. Stark?
Aye.
Jansit?
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Homan.
Aye.
Sam. Vasilian. Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Clark. Atack.
Aye.
13 yes, no noes, no absent. Moving on then to item number 6, which is matters from the public for anything that is not on the agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to address the council about that is not on the agenda tonight? Please come on up and give us your name and address at the mic, and welcome.
Good evening. My name is Bill Ryman. I reside in Batavia at 5 North Dixon Drive. However, I'm here representing myself as a business owner. I also own a business, FlexPack Packaging, in the city of Batavia, right on Redant Road. I'm here this evening actually on behalf of FlexPack and 41 other companies in Batavia. And I'm here to deliver some letters that have been signed by these businesses encouraging the City Council to move forward with the action encouraging an investigation into the contract between NIMPA and Batavia for the purchase of power from Prairie State. And I realize that this action has already been taken by the council in a recent meeting, but I at least wanted to let you know that there are at least 42 companies that are standing behind you, and appreciate your doing that. And I guess with the mayor not here, we have a mayor pro tem, so I'd like to present the 41 letters to you.
Yes.
Indicating this support for your action. I also have a condensed list of this for all of the rest of you that simply list the companies and addresses and who signed the letters.
Yeah, we'd be happy to accept those and give them to the city clerk here to make note of, too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to do this, too.
A few follow-up comments, if I might. I want to encourage the letter that's put together to the Illinois Attorney General to be very strong, strongly worded and emphatic, including lots of details so that we're sure to get the Attorney General's attention. I'm sure the Attorney General has lots of things coming across the desk, so we need to be sure that this is given the attention that it requires. Sufficient detail needs to be included to impress upon the Attorney General's office that the current contractual relationship will be devastating not only for the Batavia, Geneva, Rochelle group, but that it also includes several hundred other communities in the state of Illinois. And that may help make it more impactful and increase the probability that the Attorney General will pay attention if they realize, if that office realizes that there are lots of communities in Illinois that are involved in this. It's not just Batavia that's making noise. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention.
All right, thank you.
Good evening.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on then to item number 7. I'm sorry. Yvonne?
A little slow, I'm sorry. Joe Marconi asked me to read this article. He can't be here. He's having dialysis tonight. So before I read this, what I'd like to do is mention that I've been reading about this marijuana business. Marijuana is a gateway drug, and I understand that some people here are interested in having some grower come in. And I don't think it's fair. I'm for legalizing drugs one way or another, personally, but I don't think it's fair that you would consider putting marijuana into town, and you're screwing the veterans by not allowing them to have video gaming on their premises. So I would like you to reconsider that, and for the mayor to say he's concerned about the investigation of the people doing the video gaming, the licensing and so on, is kind of idiotic when you consider nobody knows where the seeds are coming from for this marijuana, and are they coming by them legally or illegally, and there's so many other questions. So either legalize it all or legalize none of it. And we don't need it in town. You know, one way or another, it doesn't take any skin off my back, but it's not fair to the veterans to bring marijuana and not let them have their video gaming. Okay, now to Joe Marconi's article. He sent this to me this afternoon. Oh, by the way, my name's Yvonne Dinwiddie. I know everybody else knows. 1156 Pine Street in Batavia. The article reads, Batavia's Prairie State backlash grows. A call for bankruptcy, trouble in Fulton and Hannibal, Missouri. Legal review sought in Batavia, Illinois. It's the 29th of September, 2014, Institute for Energy, Economics, and Financial Analysis. The Paducah Sun over the weekend published a scathing editorial on what it called the Paducah Power System's disastrous investment in Prairie State Energy Campus. The Peabody Energy mine-mouth coal-powered power facility marketed and sold to local utilities in 2007. The editorial says that former board chairman Ray McLennan, who resigned last week, led the agency largely under the radar into $600 million in debt obligations tied to ownership of questionable power sources, mostly via Prairie State. We think it's a fair question, given this mountain of debt and the losses PPS is taking on its power sales, to ask if PPS is a candidate for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, or the municipal equivalent. The paper says, if it's legally doable, PPS needs to do it because with current rates, the very economic viability of the city is threatened. One can foresee a future in which, absent relief on rates, there is an exodus of business and an acceleration of the population loss already plaguing the city, creating a deadly downward spiral on the PPS customer base. Paducah was obviously led down the primrose path on Prairie State, and bankruptcy might be one way to force the players to the table on fairer terms. The paper also called for the immediate resignation of Prairie State Power Manager David Clark. It reported separately that Paducah Power's new board is calling for a formal investigation into the deal Paducah signed with Prairie State, a move that drew the attention of the bond buyer in a story, and it says subscription required, that put it this way. Saddled with high electric rates, the Paducah Power System in Kentucky will investigate its fiscal obligations to the beleaguered Prairie State Energy Campus. Last week's City Commission meeting, in which Prairie State officials tried, awkwardly at times, to explain the plant's failures, was recorded in full by the city and is posted here. The bond buyer also noted in a similar backlash in Batavia, Illinois, under the headline, Chicago Suburb Will Seek Legal Review of Prairie State Deal, in an article that reports officials plan to ask the Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan's office to examine the city's 2007 decision to purchase power from the controversial bond-financed, coal-fired Prairie State Energy Campus. Meanwhile, the Fulton, Missouri Sun reported last week that the city of Fulton is facing a $500,000 budget deficit, in part because of the failures at the Prairie State Power Campus. The city's 2014 budget assumed that Prairie State's 2 units would each produce power at full load 80% of the time. Neither unit produced at full load 80% of the time, which caused the city to purchase power from the open market. And the Hannibal, Missouri Courier-Post reports that the Hannibal Board of Public Works is raising rates because of failures at Prairie State. The paper quotes Bob Stevenson, General Manager of the Board. Stevenson observed that the honest reality is the electric rate increase is due to Prairie State, the coal-fired power plant in which the city owns a share. The Prairie State Energy Campus continues to underperform, and we have lowered our revenue projections to what we believe will be closer to reality, he said. I don't see a whole lot of difference between our $240 or $250 million bond issue that's indirectly financed by the citizens of Batavia and all this other stuff. And this is not just Paducah, Kentucky. This is Ohio and all across the area. So we need to really get on the stick here. Homework should have been done long before this was invested in.
Thanks, Yvonne. Anyone else? Okay, moving then to item number 7, Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak with you tonight. I'm here to talk about some really exciting things that are going on at the Chamber right now. We have coming up on October 17th, we do a monthly open and free networking event at one of our member locations, and we're actually going outside of our boundaries this month and going to Costco in St. Charles. So please join us there for some free and open networking. Also, we have the Harvest Celebration on October 22nd. This is, I believe, our 8th year. We have been traditionally holding it at our offices at the old post office building, but we're changing it up a little bit and trying to be a little bit more harvesty. So we're going out to Marmion's Abbey Farms this year. So please go online and register for this event with us. We are honoring our 2014 Donna Della Sassi Award winner, George Sheets, the director of the Batavia Public Library. So he has participated in a lot of historical research that was done for the Batavia Chamber for our 60th anniversary, which we celebrated last year, and also he helped us put together a kind of the beginnings of the Chamber during that time. So please come and celebrate George and what he's given back to our community, not only through the Chamber, but also in his role as the director of the library. I have had the honor this year of participating in Halloween Hooligans. The Batavia Arts Council every year for I think this is actually only the second year they're doing it, but as a fundraiser, they've picked out some people within the community to be voted on for what our costume is going to be this year at Halloween. So if at any point in time you'd like to see me dressed as a Spanish señorita, Medusa, or Valkyrie, please vote and donate to the Batavia Arts Council. So I would like to win this year. I am playing for AID, which is the Association for Individual Development, and they're giving 20% of what is voted on for me to AID, and also if I win, then they give an additional 10%. So please vote early, often, and this is a great time to start practicing voting. So please vote for me in Halloween Hooligans, and you can find those pages. There's many other great people from the community that are also participating this year, and you can find us at bataviaartscouncil.org. On November 13th, we will be holding our annual Mayor's Breakfast, which is the presentation by the city as kind of a state of the city. It would be held at Lincoln Inn again this year, so please join us. Again, that's on November 13th, and it's a breakfast at Lincoln Inn. He always, as many of you have attended in the years past, always gives a great recap of what we've accomplished as a community over the past year, and also gives some great projections on what to look forward to in the way of economic development in the community. So, other than that, for more information on anything else that is going on within the Chamber, we also have a great community calendar there as well. So please check us out at bataviachamber.org. Without any further ado, I have for you this month's Spotlight Business. It is Dr. Sidelko and he'll talk with us about his dental practice, and you will see you have some lovely takeaways with you from him this evening. So, Dr. Sidelko.
Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm Dr. Chris Sidelko, and back in June, I purchased the dental practice of Dr. Mark Lee, and we're doing business as Fox River Dental. And we're actually right next door at 34 North Island, Suite H. We're doing general and cosmetic dentistry for the family. We are seeing kids as young as 3, and we will be doing sleep apnea treatments as well as snoring treatments in the near future. A little background on myself real quick. I graduated University of Illinois at Chicago College of Dentistry in 2006. I spent the last 7 years at a large group practice in Naperville, and I couldn't be happier to be in a community-based practice here in Batavia.
Have you got a phone number that you can give us? So you're on TV, so anybody
Yeah,
that's
the phone
watching-
number would be 630-879-0055,
Okay.
and foxriverdentalbatavia.com.
Anybody have any questions for him? Well, welcome to Batavia. I had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Lee and his wife one evening, and they were real excited that you were taking over the practice and spoke very highly of you.
Yeah, couldn't be happier.
So, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on then to item number 8, which is Resolution 14-135-R, authorizing entry into a common interest agreement by the city attorney related to the Prairie State class action. And I believe Alderman Clark, you're going to present that?
This is an agreement, this resolution approves this common interest agreement, which allows several parties, representatives that can speak with each other about the litigation without breaking the privilege that protects Batavia as a city and vice versa. It is commonly used in complex business matters. It will be necessary, because of our membership in NIMPA, to share information with other members and for our attorneys to discuss these matters without losing the rights we have under the attorney-client privilege. Attorney Drendel has reviewed the agreement, and there was an email I know sent today by Betsy Zinser. I know Bill replied and answered her questions. I don't know if she's here.
She is. She is.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that's what this resolution does, it's just an agreement that allows our attorneys to talk with the other attorneys. So I'll make a motion for staff, or I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 14-135R.
Second. Motion by Clark, second by Wolf. Chanzik. Anybody have any further questions, comments?
I do. I didn't see Bill's memo either until I got here, so I didn't really digest it. But I wanted to say that I didn't support it at the JCAL meeting, and that's not reflected here. But I was wondering if you could explain how the attorneys communicate right now and exactly how this will help, because it seems to me like we're going in the opposite direction. We're looking for transparency, and this is reducing transparency. So I guess I don't have a full understanding of it.
Really, it's not really reducing transparency, because things that are talked about from the city with the attorney are still protected by attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
That stuff is generally not subject to FOIA request, that type of things, unless it's brought out in an open meeting or open session. So those type of things are still protected by attorney-client privilege.
All right.
What this really helps with the attorneys is that when we're discussing various aspects of this litigation, and right now we're just response and discovery, so really our role is just to provide documentation or requests to discovery provided by the requested by the plaintiffs, but we would be able to exchange information as to the different requests that may be made, different legal theories or strategies that may be employed, if necessary, in the litigation itself. It also will kind of help reduce on some redundancies, so instead of like all the different cities researching the same issue, if one city kind of does the research, they can share that research with the other cities. But again, too, though, the other part of this agreement, though, it doesn't require us to do so. It just kind of opens up the possibility for that.
I guess I don't completely understand the need for it at this time. So.
Well, I guess what I kind of said, what's kind of the purpose of it is just kind of exchange
I guess I'd
information.
like to see the things that are shared, and since the parties aren't, from what I understand, part of the litigation. I mean, we're just respondents in discovery, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
So we're not, so I don't know what kind of legal strategy we'd need to discuss.
Well, in the legal strategies may be depending upon what is requested, like what documentation would be responsive to that particular request.
And that would need, that
Yeah.
couldn't be public?
That may or may not be public depending upon the agreements and everything else that may be involved with it, so.
Right.
But without knowing what specifically they're requesting at this time, it's kind of, we're talking hypotheticals at this point.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, do we want to invite the public to speak before we vote?
I'll take Alderman first. Michael,
Are
or
there any implications we need to be aware of if we vote to support this?
Really, all it is just kind of an agreement between the attorneys to be able to communicate amongst the attorneys without interfering with the attorney-client privilege between the attorneys and the municipalities. And as I said in response to Alderman Atak's question, it doesn't actually require us to share anything. It just gives us the opportunity to share that information.
Alderman Callahan?
What would be the hypothetical implication if we were not named as a defendant, but NIMPA later was? How would that affect the discussions of any legal strategies and legal sharing of information?
That's quite, honest, I'm not going to kind of, I don't really can't answer the question. It's too much of a hypothetical at this point to kind of really consider. I think it's kind of something that we need to address if and when the situation arises.
Bill, do you have something?
Yeah, can I say a few things? Number one, just so everybody, this is commonly used in business. So the best example I could give is that, let's say there's company A and B. Company A has a patent that makes a good toaster, and it's supposedly like, the best toaster. And company B wants to buy company A and their patent. In order for them to really work out this business deal, it will be necessary for company A and company A's lawyer to have frank discussions with company B about what really makes this toaster tick. Now, the lawyer for company B has no attorney-client privilege with company A at all because he represents B. But these transactions can't be done unless really sensitive information is shared. So they enter into a shared, one of these joint agreements. So company A can feel okay in talking about his toaster with the attorney for company A can talk to the attorney for company B, talk about toasters. And if the deal goes forward, great. If it doesn't go forward, the attorney for company B and company B, they cannot say anything about the toaster to anybody. That information remains secret, so company A can try and sell their toaster to somebody else later on down the line. There's no way you can do certain kinds of transactions without saying, okay, here's kind of what this situation is. In this case, I just want to stress, Kevin Drenel worked on this for the last 2 weeks, gone back and forth with the two attorneys for Geneva and Rochelle, who have the same interests that we do legally. And those three have also had meetings with and talked to Richard Heineman, the attorney for NIMPA, and Kevin and the other attorneys know, and their loyalty and their duty is to the city of Batavia, not to NIMPA. They still believe, though, it would be helpful to talk with that attorney. None of the information, anything that we have to give up in this litigation, of course, is public. Anything that we do in terms of response to interrogatories or anything, absolutely public. It'll be on our website. What won't be public is their conversations. Just like if we have a closed session on something and Kevin goes back and gives you advice, he doesn't come out and talk about what that was, whether it's, say, the price of a piece of property, which would make it very difficult to have acquire or sell business property on behalf of the public. There's personnel issues. There's a lot of things that are just protected, and that's just the law and how it is. Any of the materials that are given in this or shared cannot be made available to anybody else except the lawyers and employees of the people in this agreement. So there was some concern about IMPA being involved, and IMPA has absolutely nothing to do with this agreement. The Indiana Municipal Power Agency is actually a named defendant. They are not part of this in any way. They will not be benefited or shown any of the materials that we put forth in these conversations. It can't be, anything that we give can only be used for, if it's used at all by the other attorneys, it can only be used for this case only and with our written consent. And we can withdraw from the agreement anytime we want. If NIMPA is converted into a defendant, I think the city attorneys would talk long and hard about that, and if they felt that somehow the interests started to diverge, we'd pull out of the agreement immediately. Although we are a partner of NIMPA, and so indirectly, the NIMPA attorney would be representing the city's interests anyway. It's very confusing, but I don't think there's a problem with the agreement.
It is confusing, and I felt like some of the examples you gave, Bill, were more like trade secret type examples that I don't think would apply in this situation. And I don't understand why NIMPA is involved. And so, again, I think given your memo came out tonight kind of late, I think, and I don't think there's a rush. I think we should discuss it a little bit longer in the JCAL. Sorry.
Oh, Alderman Callahan.
I was going to go along with, while she was speaking, was the same sort of question is there an urgency to doing this tonight? Because it did come up at the JCAL the other day. We didn't discuss it because we were waiting on the final draft for moving it till tonight. Is there a sense of urgency to do this? And if not, what are the implications for just waiting? Because are we just kind of lining this up for future use? Would another week or two for people to digest some of the information that came out be okay? Or is there something pressing that we need to know about why it would need to be done?
I'll let Bill answer that first. So.
Well, I don't think it's being done under any big pressure. I think we've made the assumption that people were going to be served. When we get served, we have 30 days to, unless it's extended, 30 days to come up with a lot of materials. Nobody has been served, so as of this moment, nobody's under any obligation to do anything. All the lawyers would like it approved now so that they can talk, okay? Because they can't talk about this at all except the terms of the agreement. I don't think going off a week, if that makes you feel, I think I would have Kevin here, and if that will make you understand it better and feel more confident, then I think you should put it off for a week. And maybe we'll get served tomorrow, and but if we get served tomorrow, we're all going to start working internally anyway. It is what it is, and we've already assembled a lot of the documents under FOIA. So, I personally don't want you to feel uncomfortable about something.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I'll echo what Bill's saying. There's not a real rush, other than the fact that I know Kevin would like to be able to start talking with some of these issues with the other attorneys as soon as possible, but of course, too, he would want to make sure you as the clients feel comfortable with his authority to discuss these with the other attorneys as well, so.
And that was where I do understand what previously came out, but I think there were some questions raised, and your response came out within last hour and a half. I know not everybody's probably fully digested it, so if there's nothing pressing, I don't mind having a waiting to just digest a little bit more.
Can I ask one more question? I don't understand why they can't talk now. I'm missing something. Why can't the attorneys talk at this point?
Well, the attorneys could talk to some degree, but you have to understand that if we would talk with Chuck Radovich, the attorney for Geneva, about confidential issues with Batavia, we are essentially waiving the attorney-client privilege, so anything that we talk about...
What are the confidential issues?
Well,
I think that's what this is all about, is getting rid of the confidential issues and transparency.
Well,
You always want to
But
maintain...
there's a difference between the confidential information in the documents and what these lawyers talk about with each other. If they have a conversation about what the 10 different theories are, that somehow there could be some kind of liability ending up with the city, or what the different ways to look at, bond obligations, that is their protected information, and it is not, we're not going to talk about it here. And it's not because we don't want the citizens to know, but because people who may not have the same interests as us also get to know it. I mean, that's one of the shames, but that's one of the issues of litigation and why you have attorney-client privilege.
Well, like we've identified for executive session, the certain things that we need to talk about in the executive session, can we identify those for this agreement?
Lucy, I don't know what they're going to talk about.
All right,
I don't think they know what they're going to talk about. All I know is that Kevin works for us. He works for us, and we have to rely.
I understand that.
Pardon me?
I understand that.
Well, we have to
but-
rely on his discretion as to what he talks about and what he shares and doesn't share.
Well, but we don't. I mean, we can vote however we want to.
Well, sure. No, I'm just saying is, if he's our attorney, as long as he's our attorney, you are trusting his discretion in decisions that he makes. So, I don't know how to get further.
Alderman Chandos?
This is, when I read this memo and I looked at this seems extremely procedural, and it would seem to me that if we don't vote yes for this, we're actually slowing down the release of information. So it just seems like either we trust the people we hired or we don't. So it would seem to me that a vote yes would mean we could start working on this tomorrow and release more information. Am I understanding this correctly, Bill?
I think all three city councils will have to pass it. I think Geneva is probably looking at it tonight, but until everybody, if somebody's body hasn't authorized their attorney to talk about it, they're not going to talk with anybody who hasn't been so authorized. So I'm just...
Okay. That said, I would support this, and I can't think of a reason to delay this any longer.
I agree. Well, there's a motion on the floor.
I also had asked for public comment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is
Does
there anyone
anybody
from
from the public have anything they'd like to comment on? If so, please come up and use the podium, give us your name and address.
Hi, I'm Betsy Zinzer, and 801 Wind Energy Pass, and I just have two thoughts based on what was said right now. One is, I don't think the NIMPA meeting comes up too terribly quickly, and it might actually follow the next city council meeting, so I don't think this would be a delay if you were to deliberate. But I'm not 100% sure of that date in my mind. The second thing is that I just would like confirmation that when we're talking about who, that it would be easier for me to understand if we talked about names. So does this mean that you could speak freely with Richard Heineman, but in no way would anything the city says to Richard Heineman would be shared with anybody other than himself and the board member of NIMPA, board members of NIMPA?
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Yeah, basically, anything that's said in the agreement would be shared with just the signatories of the agreement. They can't disclose it to third parties or anything else like that.
No, I mean, when we define NIMPA, if we share it with Richard Heineman, who can Richard Heineman share that information with under the NIMPA umbrella?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I would have to look at more of the structure with that.
That would, I think, be important, because if it is the board members and the board member alternates, that is one set of people, but if it also extends to those people that they use as consultants, which would be IMPA or ISC, that's a completely different situation, and I would like clarification on that if I were in your position. Thank you.
Well, I can answer that. Number one, this has nothing to do with NIMPA meetings. This is the lawyers talking. This is the lawyers' communications. This is not the boards communicating with each other. This is the attorneys. Okay?
Yes, but who could Richard share information
That was question
with?
number one. Question number 2 is, they can only release it to their employees, the attorneys of record, the signatories of the agreement, their partners, associated attorneys, clerks, paralegals working on the litigation, independent consultants retained by a party working on this litigation. It's not IMPA, I can tell you. And IMPA is a defendant. There is absolutely no way that, and ISC is a defendant, there's absolutely no way that information that they don't have and that we have only is going to be communicated to a defendant in the case. It would be an absolute breach of not only the agreement, but a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have to agree with Alderman Chanzik on this. I think this is something that you do in order to be able to communicate more freely when you're working with other entities, I'm not going to say toaster manufacturers, but with other municipalities. Right now, they're not able to communicate the way they want to be able to communicate, and doing this would allow them to do that.
I agree with you as well, but I also think until we're all comfortable, maybe it would behoove us to put this on the agenda for next Tuesday and have Kevin here to discuss it and make sure everyone's on the same page.
Okay. Carl, did you have something?
Carl Dinwiddie, 1156 Pine Street, and I'll let the city attorney or Mr. McGrath correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a lawyer. But I don't think the first court date is until November, and that's the first time the judge will start to make rulings. And he may not necessarily even authorize discovery at that time, although we are the respondent in discovery. And I'm mainly speaking to the urgency that we have to act here. He may or may not allow discovery on the first court date. It may take some other motions, and there may be some other issues that have to get put aside first. Secondarily, Mr. McGrath talked about a 30-day deadline, and that's probably true. However, there's such thing as contingencies. You can go in and, continuances. If it's a burdensome request and just lots of data, you just go into the court with a request to continue, and you just can't make the deadline and see what the judge says. So, I'm only speaking to the urgency of whether this has to be done today or not. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, wait, Steve?
Yeah, I'd prefer us waiting. I think there's enough uncertainty that if there's not a pressing rush, and it doesn't sound like there is, that if we wait a week and are able to vote unanimously or near unanimously because we've had more time to think about it, I think that bodes better for all of us. So that would be my request.
All right, so there's a motion and a second on the floor for approval of Resolution 14135-R, just conferring with our city attorney in order to, we've already got this motion on the floor, so I think we need...
I have to withdraw.
Yeah, you need to withdraw it, should you choose to.
Yeah, Ellen will.
Before you remove it. I've read through this probably 4 or 5 different times to try to make sure that I understood what I thought it said. And I always go back to the same spot right here, number 3, common interest materials shall only be used in joint efforts. And it says, each party agrees that all common interest materials received from the other parties to this agreement shall only be used in connection with the party's preparation for this litigation, shall not be used for any other purpose without the prior written consent of the parties. So to me, that says, I think what we're all kind of nervous about is who's going to hear this, who's going to be privy to it, who's going to have access to it. Right there it says it's only the ones that have signed this agreement. It's not everybody else involved with it. And I think that this is more preparatory. We don't even know if we're going to get served, if we're going to have to produce anything. We don't know that yet because nobody's gotten anything. I think this is to prepare so that the legal teams are ready to go when that happens. I don't have a problem with doing it now.
I just, based on the original agreement, Betsy's email, Bill's response. I feel comfortable in saying that this seems like it's just a very strategic way for the attorneys to be prepared to have discussions about what could potentially be asked for in discovery. Obviously, we are not Kevin's only clients. I'm sure that the other municipalities are not those attorneys' only clients. We may not have the first court date till the beginning of November, but that's only 3 weeks away. So I think by postponing things, we hamper the process when it's very well spelled out. Bill's memo was only 7 bullet points. It came out at 4:33. So, it wasn't like it was written in Greek and I have to look up every other word. It was very straightforward. So I would absolutely support moving forward with this.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. What would you like to do?
Yeah, you made the motion.
Should you choose to proceed with it and it were to be voted down, we could ask for it to be brought back up at the next committee meeting for further discussion.
I'm going to hold my motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call, please.
Clark? Aye. Atack?
No.
Stark?
Aye.
Chanzit?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
No.
Homan?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Vasilian?
No.
Saron?
No.
McFadden?
No.
Brown?
Aye. You got
8 yes, 5
8 yes, 5 no's. Motion's carried. Okay, thank you, everyone. Let's move on then to item number 9, which is approval of 14-136-R, approving the written lease for the space at 2 East Wilson Street. Alderman Stark?
Oh, sorry. Let me go back to that screen. Okay. At the September 23rd JCAL meeting, the JCAL voted unanimously in favor of directing staff to develop and present a formal lease to permit West DuPage Cabinets and Granite to occupy the Wilson Street floor, the first floor of the lease of the city-owned property at 2 East Wilson, also known as the Tomley Building. And Chris has worked with the lessee, Catherine Sanzari, who's the president of West DuPage Cabinet and Granite. And so what we have before us tonight is a proposed lease and the resolution for the lease, which is 14-136-R. And Chris, I'm sure, has more to say about it.
If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Just to reiterate the key points, is it's a one-year lease commencing November 15th. The lessee, the tenant, has indicated that she will be open on or before 1 December. After the end of a year, they may, at the city's option, re-up the lease up to a year or on a month-by-month basis. And there will seem to be liberal terms. The rate is $415 a month. The tenant will be responsible for all utilities. They will have rights to the just below grade, below Wilson Street grade storage area, but not exclusive rights. The intent and the hope on the part of the city is to also rent the upstairs 700-plus square feet. That tenant, if we were to find one, will have rights to the washroom on the first floor, according to this lease with the Sanzari, and also access through the first floor in order to get to the stairwell. But otherwise, the business hopes to be open on 1 December. It is a retail shop selling cabinets, custom cabinets, and granite. So, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, if it's approved tonight, Ms. Sanzari and her business will have access to the building to get set up, and should open on 1 December.
Is she here tonight, Chris?
She's not, actually.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Would someone like to make a motion to approve the written lease as written?
So moved.
Motion by Chanzit, second by McFadden?
Okay, so we got a motion on the floor for approval of the lease by Chanzik, seconded by McFadden. All in favor?
Aye.
I guess I should have done roll call on that, shouldn't I? Sorry.
Okay, we can do that. Chanzit?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Homan? Sam?
Aye.
Vasilian?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Clark? Achek?
Aye.
Stark?
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Look forward to it. Next item then is item number 10, which is the final draft for the, item number 10, which is the final draft for the Homes by the Changing Regions Central Fox Valley Plan. And Lucy, were you going to take that, or Scott, you're just going to take it?
Well, it's a plan that Batavia, Geneva, St. Charles, and North Aurora have been working on for 2 years to determine what type of housing may be needed in these areas. It's not just a city issue, it's a regional issue. And we received a grant from the Chicago Area Metropolitan Planning Council. CMAP, sorry. And we were able to do this with the help of Kane County. And Scott, would you like to talk a little bit more about it?
Sure. This is a study that's been going on for quite some time. We've had a number of meetings with the steering committee and some community groups and such. And so the recommendations that have been formulated from this have been a product of all that work that we've had over the last 2 years. What's in front of you is the final product, including all the last revisions that is going in front of the various councils for either acceptance or approval or adoption, depending on which way they want to do it. Our recommendation is to accept the report, and then what we would plan to do is go back and pick out the different recommendations and bring those back to you at a future date for action items, is how we would look to do that. So some of them are going to involve in the other communities, whether it be a transit overlay or some other recommendations that are in the plan. So some of that's going to involve some coordination and cooperation with some other groups and authorities to do that. So, but we have reviewed this. We feel that it is a good work product. We think it gives some very valid recommendations for housing in the community and our future needs within the community, and we are recommending accepting the report at this point in time.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we approve the Homes for the Changing Region plan.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor by Atack, second by Clark. Roll call, please.
Atack?
Aye.
Stark?
Aye.
Chanzit?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Homan?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Vasilian?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Clark?
Okay, 13 yes, no no's, no absence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 11, Bike Commission update and bike-friendly community report. Mr. Gamble.
Good evening. Thank you all. And thank you for allowing us to come in and all of your support over the years. We've been very busy, as you're probably aware, but we have not been in the council for a little while. So we don't intend to take too long, but we do want to bring you up to speed. There's some new things that we've done. I think one of the fun ones that I wanted to bring attention to is bike-friendly Batavia businesses. Right now we have too many acronyms. This is BFBB, but bike-friendly Batavia businesses is a brand-new program this year that Dave Pedersen of Pedersen Graphics or Design and Main Street, we partnered because we realized that there are over 90,000 bikers on the bike trail every year, and each biker on average spends over $30 a visit. So we went to the businesses and said, hey, this is a great opportunity to figure out how to cater to these bikers. And part of what that was is that they just don't know what bikers need. And so we developed a criteria of things to educate the businesses on to cater to the bikers, and then gave them recognition as a bike-friendly business. We intend to build on this program. We hope to do signage. We hope to do trainings and other things, but we've got 23 businesses this year that joined, so we're really excited about that. I'm going to turn over the next new program this year to Joanne Spitz and Matt Knowles.
Sorry, in order.
who's going in. You know a little bit about Bikes for Batavia, because we talked about it last time, because you all approved giving us bikes from the police. The bikes were confiscated. So Bikes for Batavia, we're working with All Spoked Up. He is doing all the repairs and collecting all the bikes go to All Spoked Up. We got a $750 donation from the Rotary to help with the repairs and the costs. We have gotten donations of bicycles from a huge number of people in our community, from teachers, from Clem Ewell. We've gotten press from the school district, from the city. To date, we've given out 38 bikes. 27 have gone to students and 11 to adults. And by the weekend, we're having a giving away bikes party on Saturday, and we hope to give away, it'll be over 50 by the weekend. We work with Sarah Perez, who's the resident coordinator at the Batavia Apartments, and school counselors and social workers, and that's how we find people, students who are in need of bikes and adults. Most of the bikes for the students really have gone to HC Storm with the help of Julie Elholm, who's a teacher and ELL teacher there, and she's been a huge, huge supporter. She brings kids there. We have gotten waivers and tax letters set up for the students or the parents to sign. Matt gets a helmet and a lock for every bike that's given away, is given to a student. What else do you want to tell them?
I think the program's going really well. We could really use more bikes, especially adult and bikes for older kids. That's really kind of the thing we're in need of the most. Clem Ewell has been great in donating bikes, but they're mostly kids' bikes, for 3 to 7 years old. So the larger bikes are the ones that are the hardest to get.
Where do we donate?
Donate down to All Spoked Up.
Right to you?
Yeah, and I have a letter from the city to give for the donation, and it's a great program.
There's information on our website, bikingbatavia.org. There's also information on the Chipin website, which is chipinbatavia.org, and Chipin is working with them because I'm on both, and so we work with the schools quite a bit. And we have also done work with adults at the apartments, and I do have a couple stories because a bike can actually change someone's life. And we gave a bike to a young 24-year-old man at the apartments who came from Chicago, who has no family, and his only transportation is this bike. So it saved his job. He bikes to his job in Batavia, and he can now look for a second job, and he can look a little further away because of his bike. So he has said that the bike has saved his apartment. And in this whole process of this amazing town working together, people in the Chipin group heard about this young man who now has a bike, and we found out he's helping another woman at the apartments who also needed a bike. And actually, I brought a bike to her son today because she has cancer. So this young man is helping the woman with cancer, and we went into his apartment and saw that there's nothing there but a ratty old couch. And within 1 week, using our email list from Chipin and not one penny of Chipin money, we got him a new couch, a table and chairs, a bed, a dresser, and such little things have changed his life. And it all started with the bicycle. And there was another woman who now has a bike, and she can bike to the bus station so she can take her bus to her job in Wheaton, and she couldn't do that before. I think she was walking to. So it's a small thing, to us, but it's changing lives. So, and kids who didn't have a bike and watched their friends bike. We do Bike to School Day that you all helped with, and these kids couldn't participate, and now they can participate. So thank you for your support.
Well, thank you, and I don't know if you ever met Mildred Bailey or not, but you remind me of her. You're doing it's wonderful what you people are doing for the town, so thank you very much.
We're all doing it together. And I was at a school board meeting last week to thank them, and you know what? I want to thank you guys too, because you get a lot of people saying a lot of things to you, and you probably don't get a lot of thank yous. So thank you, because you do a lot of work. You read all these memos, and you spend a lot of time doing a lot of things, and it's a hard, hard job that I wouldn't want. So thank you.
Well, thank you again, and thank you for working on the other part of the program that John talked about with the Batavia businesses, because that's something I think we've all talked about here at different times about, how can you get these businesses to capitalize on the bike trails that are going through town, and it takes somebody trying to put it together is what it takes to get it done, and it sounds like that's what you're doing, so.
We have more.
Good.
As you can tell, we're passionate, and I truly appreciate all the volunteers with the Bike Commission. We actually received our bike-friendly designation as a community, and I think this is part of the reason you're seeing some of the things that we're doing. But at this point, I would like to distribute the feedback report and turn it over to Amy Moore to kind of talk about why we got the designation, but more importantly, what we should be looking at in the future, now that we've kind of teased you with some of the things that we're really pleased with what we've done. Amy?
Hi, my name is Amy Moore. One of the goals of the 2007 bike plan that Batavia adopted was to become a bike-friendly community. Last year, the commission, along with staff, applied for that, and we were granted a bronze level for the bike-friendly community in October of last year. So this is a little bit belated thank you for that. The staff was great to work with. It requires a lot of data to apply for one of these bike-friendly community programs, and we were successful. This bronze level is good into 2017. It's a 4-year designation. We are welcome to go ahead and reapply earlier than that if we wanted, if we felt we could move up to the silver, gold, or platinum level. But we were very happy to get the bronze level. The League of American Bicyclists actually evaluate communities on the 5 E's: engineering, education, encouragement, enforcement, and evaluation. And then they give you a feedback report, which is what John just passed out. It's an 8-page report of things that they think that we could do to improve. So you might want to take some time and look at that sometime. If you guys had anything that you really felt passionate about, you could contact any of us. Directions that you think Batavia should go in regards to biking. There was a lot, some of the things that we've already worked on this past year have already been addressed in this, and we're also going to be updating the bike plan in the very near future. One thing that we've really hoped to do with is work more closely with the police department on enforcement and all those issues. That came up in this feedback report. The report basically, the gist is they want safe biking, and a lot of that is done with bike lanes and speed limits and all those types of things. That's their primary concern in any of the feedback reports that they give out. We are one of 8 communities in Illinois. I know that Elgin just applied for theirs. I have not heard if they've been designated that this fall. But we are very fortunate to have received this bronze level. Are there any questions about it? But like I said, if you look through the feedback and you have something that you'd like really addressed in Batavia, we are more than happy to take that information.
Okay, thank you. Marty?
I would just like to, Joanne has done this twice now where she's come in and talked about chip in, and she's come in and thanked everybody. But chip in is due in no small part due to her heart and dedication. So we thank you.
Okay. All right. Just a couple more bike things. One of the things that you'll see in that report is bike education, and we have offered a couple Bike 101 classes, and we actually had scheduled just before the fire tower, or the fire that shut down the airports, a instructor's course to be hosted here in Batavia in the council chambers, which was canceled, or postponed, excuse me. So I would like to put out a pitch just that we are trying to get bike safety instructors, and we will probably do that in the spring. And if anybody's interested in that, it is a 2.5-day intensive course on teaching bike safety. I was very excited, and just bike skills in general, not just safety, but I was really excited because we had 2 Batavia police officers and 1 DeKalb police officer that are intending on taking the course, and that's the kind of interagency cooperation and stuff that I'm really looking forward to, and building on kind of the ease that Amy was just talking about. One other big thing that's coming up, as I understand it, we have out for bids the crossings. We have 7 crossings on 31 and 25, so hopefully those will be coming in within the next calendar year or whatever. But I would challenge you as council members to help support us in getting the routes and the signage in those to connect them. So when those go up, we actually have a full trail system instead of just crossings that go nowhere. I think that's key, and then we will hold up our end of the deal and put together a map that links everything together. That's kind of the last key to the major, I think, routes in the town, is when those crossings go up, then they link to the trail. We have good north, south, east, west crossings in all 4 quadrants. So I'm really excited about that. Don't know the timing of it, and of course, but that's a lot of work if we make that kind of a commitment to actually put the routes in place, because it is 7 crossings there. And then finally, I would just like to say we do have a website, which you may not be familiar with, but it's bikingbatavia.org. So it's relatively new, and we're working on it and getting it upgraded to promote everything. So thank you all for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions or anything.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for John? Okay, thanks, John. Next item on the agenda then is the administrator's report.
Thank you. Just for a second to get back to this joint interest agreement, I just wanted to, just for the record, to make sure everybody understood. This afternoon, Betsy Zinser, who's our very interested citizen on all things Prairie State, wrote me an email because she had some concerns about this agreement. We always communicate with citizens on this stuff, so I wrote her back right away, and realizing that she was going to be here tonight. So, frankly, a part of our job is, if we can allay somebody's fears or try to make them feel more comfortable with something, we do. And especially to let them know that, well, we've thought about some of these things. This is not, and I thought that exchange might be valuable to you, so that's why I sent it out. I mean, I ordinarily wouldn't send something out at 4:30 that was really heavy and expect you to digest it, and that's why I'll be more than glad if any of you would like. I could still have Kevin come next week, because this is pretty important. I mean, if you don't feel comfortable about this thing, who knows what may come down the line, and we better start this thing off, everybody feeling really comfortable about it. So maybe you can just kind of let me know if you would like him to come and talk about it next week. Be glad to do it.
What do you want to do? I mean, let's give him an answer.
Bring Kevin.
Yeah.
Sure, fine. As you know, we applied for a grant from the Riverboat to try and work on I'll call it the river. I don't want to call it the corridor. That's what St. Charles calls it. But the streetscape project resulted in us having a conversation about the fact that we really needed to make the river more central to our thinking and our lives down here in the downtown. So we applied for a grant. We asked for $50,000. Unfortunately, we only received $10,000. We still have a partner with the Park District. We still have we're still putting some in-kind contributions. We had a very good meeting with not only the county about the grant, but as I put out yesterday or a couple days ago, or last week, I guess, my memo, there's a lot of things happening now, all kind of coming together. So it's the perfect time to start focusing on the river. Tomorrow night, per my memo, I'm going to ask you to have a discussion so we can see what your thoughts are. But we're very excited about that. The Park District is as well. I think there's some real economic development implications for it, as well as recreation implications, and as well as protecting the river environment that we have already. The street program is moving along. It's underway. It's on schedule, and it should be done by the end of the month. If the weather holds out, we should be in good shape. The same thing with the sidewalk program. It's all a matter of weather. We're also going to be repaving the Baptist Church parking lot, so letters have been sent out to all our downtown residents who have overnight parking passes, letting them know that'll be closed to them, and letting them know where they can park during that project. We will, once it does start, we'll have some signs and try and direct people the rest of the public to other places to park as well. We're working on the budget. We finished our department meetings. We're in the hole, as always happens when we have all of our meetings, because people are looking for resources. So we now are going back through everything, and we'll be coming back to talk to you about that. Talk about different revenue sources. There's always two parts to this. There's cutting back on expenses, keeping them as low as possible, and then there's always looking for new or different revenue sources. So we'll be coming to you and have that conversation. If you recall, the actual budget meetings are November 5th and 12th, 6th and 12th, excuse me, this year. I wanted to remind, since we are televised tonight, that tomorrow night is your opportunity to interview the candidates who have applied to fill the First Ward aldermanic vacancy. One of the candidates has withdrawn, so there are 3. I was communicated with by one of them today who, unfortunately, there was no way he could get out of it. It's been called to Philadelphia, so we're trying to arrange for him to be part of this meeting either by phone or by Skype or something. I'm going to try and work this out tomorrow, but he truly is interested and doesn't want to lose the opportunity if we can work that out for him. Tomorrow is the International Council of Shopping Centers. It's international. All the big boxes and all the real estate brokers who deal with these kinds of land uses all are members, and they have shows in different parts of the country. There's a local one, a relatively Midwest one here tomorrow. Will be represented by Chris Aston, and we'll see what kind of information he gets. It's always a good sense to come back and find out what companies are actually thinking of expanding, what companies are coming into the Midwest from other parts of town, what companies who are already present here, whether they've modified their strategies, as they often do. They may say, in the next 3 to 5 years we're expanding or we're going to cut back. So we'll get some good information out of that. And that's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for Bill?
Any word from any development on the Mizna development?
No.
Complete silence?
Yes.
Lucy, do you have anything? Okay. Bill, you mentioned we're going to start having a lot of conversation about the river and such. I just wonder, because it is a partnership, I guess we could say, between us and the Park District, maybe you can mention that to them, and, whether or not they want to come down and listen into what we talk about. I know you're going to communicate with their staff, but sometimes if their board knows, maybe they want to just be here too.
I sent them a copy of the memo, and I talked with the mayor, and he wants to have their board come down here. I mean, the staffs will be meeting, but he wants to use this as another reason to have the park board come down here, meet together with you, and talk about that, and everybody get on the same page for this. So that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Okay.
All right, next item is committees report. Alderman Clark, Public Utilities.
Looking at the calendar, I do not see any public utility issues coming in the next couple meetings, so I have nothing to report.
Okay. CDC, Alderman Atek.
Let's see, tomorrow night at the Council of the Whole, we'll be discussing the Fox River, its protecting it redevelopment process, and the Batavia Dam. October 8th, there's a Plan Commission meeting, a Tree Commission meeting, and the 13th, there's the Historic Preservation meeting and the Bicycle Commission meeting. And on the 14th, at the Committee of the Whole, we'll be discussing TIF 3, its tentative extension, and small sign advertising, and streetscape and funding.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Stark, on Government Services.
On October 7th, we'll be interviewing and meeting the candidates for the First Ward vacancy. On October the 14th, we will be discussing the 2015 meeting calendar. On October the 21st, we'll be discussing the cow operations and code changes. And I'm not sure the fire MABAS agreement, I'm not sure which committee that falls under. And that's all for government services right now.
City Services, Alderman Wolf.
Main thing is really nothing on the Committee of the Whole agendas for the next couple of weeks. But coming up, starting on the 13th of this month, is going to be leaf collection. West side will be October 13th is when it starts. East side starts on October 20th. So anybody that has any questions can look at the website as far as where things are supposed to be. Realize that we will have 3 pickups. The 13th, the week of the 27th, and then November 10th. And those are the beginning weeks for the west side. The third pickup is tentative at this point, depending on what the weather's like.
Thank you.
So, get ready for the leaves to fall.
Anyone else? Anything under other business? Bill, for tomorrow night's interviews for the first ward, is that at 7 or 7:30?
7:30.
7:30? And is there a tentative agenda for that at this point? Or mayor's just we're gonna do like half an hour for each one, or question and answer
I
type
think,
deal?
I don't think he would have, I think that would be his notion, but I think in the past, they've just maybe used 5 minutes to tell a little bit about themselves and why it is that they want to be here, and then it's really open up for your questions. So, and then you repair to closed session and talk about it.
Okay. Under item number 15, mayor's report, I'm going to leave that for him. Item number 16, executive session has been removed from the agenda. Item number 17 is adjournment. Move for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by
O'Brien.
Alderman O'Brien, second by Alderman Stark. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.